With insecurity still haunting the nation, changing form and substance as the days go by, there seems to be a growing siege mentality taking hold of Nigeria. For over a decade, this macabre dance of death has steadily moved from the northeast, where it wreaked untold havoc on human and material resources, and now seems to have dropped anchor in the southeast. The sharp decline in interstate travel owing to fear of being abducted or killed by criminal herdsmen more than anything encapsulates this worrying state of affairs. According to experts, it would amount to an exercise in futility to try to calculate just how much damage insecurity continues to inflict on Nigeria's economy on a daily basis. We're now going to have a conversation around this issue with Tanwa Ashiru, a security and intelligence analyst and a U.S. Air Force veteran who worked in the Department of Defense and U.S. National Security Agency. She served 180 days in Afghanistan and was involved in counterinsurgency, counter-IED, and counter-terrorism operations in Southwest Asia, Middle East, and Africa. Welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, Tanwa, good morning. We've been looking for you. Thank God you have now made yourself available. Well, whoever speaks Yoruba will understand what I mean by that. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Very quickly, I mean, there is fire on the mountain,
yes, right,
as they say, in the southeast, in the northwest, in the northeast. Even now at the National Assembly, lawmakers are even saying that the National Youth Service Corps scheme should be scrapped because Nigeria is no longer safe. Now, but, I mean, this is our country. We can't give it up. As a security and intelligence analyst, what do you think needs to be done to save Nigeria? Where are the fault lines? Where did we miss the point?
Well, Ruben, the issues, the problems are many. And what that means is that when we're going to find a solution, our solutions also have to be multi-pronged. Now, one of the first things, if people ask me, what do we do? Because at the end of the day, we're always looking for that one smoking gun. What is that one silver bullet? What is that button we can push that will just reset security across Nigeria? And the truth is, the answer to that is education. I know it doesn't sound exciting. In fact, it sounds like it doesn't even correlate with security right now. But let's look at the demographics of people who are agitating across the land. So in the north, we have bandits, a lot of bandit groups. Again, who are the people that form these bandit groups? They're young youth, young boys who don't really have much else to do. And so they focus on banditry, stealing, kidnapping, etc. Then let's take it to the Niger Delta. We were just talking with Chief Edwin Clark. Same issue again. Who are those people, who are the militants at the time who are agitating? And even till now, if you know, maritime piracy in the Gulf of Guinea is still one of the highest, especially off the coast of Nigeria. Who are these people? Again, young youth. They don't have that many skills. They're not really that educated. And this is what they've turned to. If we bring it here to the Southwest, cultism, major issues. You're just sitting in your house, you start hearing gunshots, people are running, there's a lot of agitation. Where's that coming from? Same demographic. And if you take it also to the Southeast, you know, same thing. People are agitating, they're angry, they keep being targeted by government security forces. And so now they've taken up guns and said, you know what, we're going to start fighting back. So the issue here is, you know, I hate to really pin the blame on anyone, but the future, the older generation, I don't think really did us much justice. And so today we're here now, and the way I see things going, you travel across this country and you still see children who should be in school, but are instead with bowls, searching through garbage, trash cans, looking for food, begging on the roads, doing nothing with themselves. Many able-bodied men standing around with nothing to do. That is what is the issue right now. So, yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. We need to take a short commercial break, and then we'll come back, and the conversation will continue. Welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News channel. Our guest is Tanwa Ashiru, a security and intelligence analyst and a U.S. Air Force veteran who worked in the Department of Defense and the U.S. National Security Agency. Tanwa, thank you for staying with us. Well, I apologize, I had to interrupt you for us to take that commercial break. If you could just quickly conclude your thoughts, and then we take the next question. Thank you for staying with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Now, one of the key issues, and the reason why I keep harping on education, is that the mindset of the average Nigerian needs to change. Our mindset, our approach. You know, today we talk about using technology to solve security situations, but the truth is, how much of that technology is actually being created and developed here in country? It would look, with a nation of over 200 million people, many of us are young youth, they have ideas, but are they actually able to produce these things? Are they given the chance, the opportunity to do so? I just think that if the government can prioritize education as much as they're prioritizing and funding defense, if they did that side by side simultaneously, we would actually see more young people get involved in productive activities. And at the same time, we can start actually building the aircrafts, building the solutions, building the technical applications and so on that we need and that can help security across the land.
Insecurity an educational problem or an economic one? Because you have a long-term roadmap that you've just laid out now with education. That's like a future project. Once people are educated, once they graduate, where are the jobs?
So that's part of what we're saying. At least at that point, you're open for business. One of the issues that we have, and here's the thing, I'm also an employer, and oftentimes it's hard to actually find employable people. So sometimes, and the reason is because they haven't been given the opportunity to even think creatively. People cannot write, and trust me, if you speak to just regular HR people, I know I hate to bring in HR, I hate to bring in the teacher and education because I know we're talking about security, but these things are interlinked. If you speak to them, they will tell you it's very hard to get a good graduate that can write very well, and that's because the school systems too are not doing us, are doing our youth a disservice as well. So I really think that more focus and priority should go towards that, and it will really help out a lot. I mean, and I'm not just saying book in terms of education and studying. It could also even be in skill sets as well. Some people are just really good with mechanics. Such a person should be involved in building aircrafts and maintaining our aircrafts and other equipment that we have. But instead, we keep having to fly people from outside the country to come and do what we know our young people can equally be equipped to solve.
All right, Tanwa, pleasure to see you again after a while, Tanwa. Real quickly, I just want you to make sense of it for me because I know you're an intelligence person and you have some data and facts. Shekal's death, what is this going to do to the fight against terrorism in Nigeria? Vis-a-vis the death of the Chief of Army Staff, very, very sad one there. These events, can you plot the connection and what data set or data trend are you beginning to see from all of these events?
I think the two are completely separate events, and the passing of the Chief of Army Staff is just, it hurt everyone. Even I didn't know him at all personally, but I could only imagine. My heart went out to his wife, who is now a widow, and the children. And so these are two separate things. Now, the first thing is with regards to Shekal's death, which happened before the passing of Chief of Army Staff. And Shekal's death, fortunately, but unfortunately, fortunately, he's dead. Unfortunately, it occurred by a rival faction terrorist group. That is what led to his demise. They were fighting each other. For those who don't know, Boko Haram and ISIS West Africa, also known as ISWAP, were actually fighting each other, and they wanted Shekau to step down. They wanted to, and the goal is to consolidate their powers together, because even they understand that united you stand. And so he was not agreeing to that, and in the end, reports say that he killed himself, either detonation or whatever the case may be. Now, the issue now is ISWAP will now consolidate power, and they will now be the sole fighting terrorist group across Nigeria. Now imagine, I know there have been reports already saying that Boko Haram might or may have spread to other parts of the country. So imagine ISWAP is not actually in those areas, but by bringing BH under their umbrella, now they have presence in these locations. And from what we read, they were also already able to sort of get the following followership of some of Shekal's commanders. So they already have those guys who have joined their ranks. So when you look at it that way, it can be very demoralizing for the troops who have been trying and fighting and putting their lives on the line to find Shekau, to decimate Boko Haram as a terrorist organization, and then seeing that, fine, Boko Haram may have been somewhat eliminated, at least the head, but instead now you just have another stronger force, which is ISIS West Africa. The reason why ISWAP is actually much more deadly is because of the level of support that they get from outside of the country. Because they're an ISIS affiliate, they do get some form of support based on a lot of reports and intel reports that are out there. They do get some support from the ISIS entity, the parent group. So that is one major issue. Now, cue in the death of the Chief of Army Staff. From what I read, he was very liked, very well liked by a lot of his troops, and you can imagine what that is going to do to their morale. These are troops who are already they themselves putting their lives on the line, and if they feel that even their leader, someone like their leader, could succumb to death by an aircraft, it can be very demoralizing for them. So I think that is one of the main areas that his death could affect the fight. It's one thing to know that your enemy has just gotten a little stronger, and then now to know that your leader has also now passed away in the middle of that. It could be very demoralizing for the troops right now.
Well, I mean, Tanwa, very interesting point there. Yesterday we spoke to an Air Commodore, Abayomi Balogun, who had been in the Air Force for about 30 years. And he was saying that, look, soldiers have signed up for a particular task, and whatever happens, their morale is not something that we need to worry about. But you have a different perspective. But if you were to sit in the same room with the National Security Advisor and the President of Nigeria, given the scenario that you have painted, ISWAP gaining influence on ground, the Shekau faction of the Boko Haram, in trouble, the Chief of Army Staff of Nigeria and 10 of his men losing their lives in a plane crash, and then widespread anxiety in the country. What will you be saying to the President in terms of how to move forward and to rebuild confidence and rebuild also, I guess, momentum?
Okay. So first of all, I think there needs to be a national framework for dialogue. Dialogue needs to take place. We've been reading in school, I don't even know if this is still true, because who knows when last the census actually occurred, but that there are 250 different ethnic groups across Nigeria. But then at the same time, we were really only taught that there are just 3 main ethnic groups, and that is not true. In fact, I read something recently that has it stuck with me. I mean, it stuck with me for so long. And the person, said, for those of you who are calling for the splitting of Nigeria, I'm from Taraba State. What makes you think I want to join the North? And then someone else chimed in and said, exactly, I'm from Bayelsa State. What makes you think I want to join the Southeast? And so on and on, you started seeing multiple people from different parts of Nigeria who kept saying, look, we do not identify with this other major ethnic group. We are our own people. So you can tell that a lot of the conflict that is taking place now on the land is the fact that people's voices are not being heard. There have been so many minority groups that have just been completely disregarded. And so now they've had to just learn, like everybody else, how to take sort of, matters into their own hands, governance into their own hands, security into their own hands. And that is what we're seeing today. The other issue, too, has to do with the courts. Now, I don't know about you, but again, conflict arises when people do not get justice when they have been wronged. And then the courts have been closed for so long, which means if a person has been wronged right now, nobody's moving, no action is really being taken against that. It's frustrating for everyone, ranging all the way from the victim to even the law enforcement agencies themselves. And I'm sure even some of the lawyers, too, must be feeling the pain of this. So we are at a point right now where we all need to sit down and allow the dialogue. I say allow. Allow people say what they want to say. Let's do it in a structured environment. Let the Tivs, the Idoma, Ibibio, all the different ethnic groups, let's all sit together and say, look, these are the issues I'm having, and even the Fulanis as well. I know over time, with the issues, with the banditry taking place, we've come to sort of paint that ethnic group as the sole perpetrators of these activities. But at the same time, if you really sit down in front of a Fulani person, he will tell you about how even he and his ethnic group as well have been wronged, and justice has not been given to them. So that's the first thing I think I would tell Mr. President. I would tell the NSA if I sat in front of them, sir, let everybody speak. Let's all hear their voices. And the second thing has to also do with localizing policing. Let me tell you, very easy. We did an analysis one day, and what we did was we threw up dots. Now, there were dots for law enforcement personnel, which had to do with government security forces, either Army, Air Force, Navy, NSCDC, the police, all of them. If you fell under law enforcement and you were a state actor, which is government forces, then you were a green dot. And everybody else, if you were armed doing anything else, you fell under the red dot. So the bandits, the cultists, the kidnappers, the armed robbers, you name it, under red dots. And when we put that on the map, the red dots overwhelmingly had more activities than the green. Now, just to explain it, what that meant was that as much as our government security forces are putting in their efforts, they cannot right now keep up with the amount of activity that the armed non-state actors are involved in. So it shows you that there needs to be a recruitment drive that needs to take place. And much of this also needs to be restructured so that we can localize policing as much as possible. The police there can tackle the issues within their communities.
Thank you, Tanwa, especially for that nuanced position that you just shared. A lot of these issues are not as black and white as we tend to think. For example, with the Islamophobia going on around ISIS, people forget that most of ISIS victims were Muslims. So Fulanis are also being victimized by herdsmen who are, brandishing AK-47s. But what does our fight currently against insurgency stand when the Nigerian military was not able to claim the scalp of Shekau and it was actually ISWAP? What does that say about Nigeria today? Should we be worried about this?
Well, I mean, we all should be worried because fatalities are still taking place. And but I think personally, especially for someone in the industry and who gets to see a lot of these incidents, it really does show that there's still a gap. There's still a knowledge gap. And a knowledge gap is pretty much what we don't know. And this is where intelligence comes in to fill in the gap. The role of intelligence is always to help answer those questions that people don't know. Let me explain something that I read that I think just really baffled me. With the death of Shekau, everyone was waiting for official confirmation of his death. Interestingly, I read from it was a foreign newspaper and journal article, and they explained that they were able to confirm the death of Shekau because they were able to have access to call logs or call conversations between insurgents themselves who were discussing and talking about how, oh, our leader has killed himself, he's dead, and they were talking about what happened. This is a news service agency that was able to get this level of information and intelligence. So when I see things like that, first of all, like I said, the technology exists for the ability of our law enforcement and our military to have eyes on the problem, to be able to see the problem, to conduct their reconnaissance and surveillance 24/7, to understand what's really going on. Insurgent groups, there's one common thread that they have in common, which is they are thriving in areas that are ungoverned spaces, which means I can show up shooting in the air, announcing my arrival, come 100-man deep, swoop into this village, even do a prayer while we're at the village, cart everything we want, administer justice, be the judge and the lawyer for a little bit, and then leave. And the entire time they're doing that, no official government present, nothing, no one stops them. And that's really one of the problems. It's been the problem from when the Chibok girls were taken many years ago, and we all wondered how you could carry 276 human beings, girls, from one point to the other, and nobody would be able to see that. I mean, these are some of the things that we don't quite understand, because we know the technology exists to be able to have visibility on these things, to conduct these surveillance and take necessary action. But the vast ungoverned spaces, I think, is also one of our major detriments here.
Well, thank you very much, Tanwa Ashiru, for joining us on the morning show today. Always a pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you very much indeed.